So I have a brother who has developmental disabilities and behavioral disabilities as well. And growing up with him could be quite challenging at times. Just to give you a little example, imagine, if you will, that you're on the family vacation of a lifetime at the wonderful Disney World. You are waiting in that unbelievably long line for that one ride you just had to go on. You're inching closer and closer to that line, just about to board the ride, and your brother has a complete meltdown, throws a tantrum, and just loses it. There's no amount of consoling or redirection that can alter this behavior, and your family has no other choice but to leave the line for the ride. As a kid, you're angry, you're mad, you don't really know what to feel. You're really confused. But in your heart of hearts, you know the bottom line is that you didn't get to go on the ride, and it was all your brother's fault. Scenarios like these have happened many times throughout my childhood and even into my adulthood. Family dinners can be ruined at the drop of a hat. Having friends over can be embarrassing at times if a behavioral episode occurs. This kind of just becomes your new norm. You learn that it's just a part of life. Doesn't matter if you're at Target, a school event, the mall. If it happened, it happened. Learning to cope with this disability and his behavioral episodes was a long process. It took a long time before we realized that my brother couldn't tolerate change without preparation, and that he had to really be guided rather than controlled. Telling him what to do never worked. It often actually increased the behaviors. So as we kind of grew as a family and learned more and more about my brother's needs, there are 3 things I wanted to share that helped us to cope with his behaviors when they occurred. The first one is discussing the problem. Talking about these behavioral episodes with my mom and my dad and my other siblings helped us to realize that we were all going through very similar feelings and emotions at the same time. It helped us to understand that it wasn't just affecting one of us, and that as a family we had to learn how to cope and understand my brother's needs better so that we could help him to understand his needs. The second thing that we used, kind of tactic that we used, was walking away. As a little sister, I have to admit that I could be the button pusher, as most little sisters are, but the difference was that those sibling rivalries or sibling jarrings, if you will, could turn at the drop of a dime. You just towed that line a little too far, and before you knew it, it was a full-blown behavioral episode. So learning when to step back and not let the fun go over that line to a behavioral episode was really, really important. That was a really big one to learn and took a long time. The third way that I used to cope, or that we used to cope, was by finding an alternative. Helping my brother to alter his emotion by giving him something positive to think about, or a different task to do that he was good at, helped him to refocus the negative energy and channel it into something that made him feel good. Whether it was walking the family dog or throwing the football, the positive behavior, the positive change helped kind of create an amnesia almost about what he was upset about. And allowing that time for him to process really helped so that we could go back after the fact and discuss what the situation was and ways to help avoid it in the future. And this has become increasingly important as he has grown up and entered into the workforce and has played a bigger part into the general community, because things happen at work. We all have those issues with coworkers and whatnot, and he has now learned how to step back and not react so instantaneously, but allow himself the time that he needs to process an episode before it becomes a major behavioral issue.